there are two areas of leadership that has actually become more significant and more relevant during this COVID season. One would be distributed leadership, and the other situational leadership. Distributed leadership, it talks about giving autonomy to various colleagues in the school. It could be our middle managers, our head of departments, and allowing them the space to be able to make decisions. In March, nobody knew what was happening. Schools just closed for us, and we had to make sense very quickly how schools had to continue, and how teachers could be supported, and how children could also be supported. And at that point in time, allowing our colleagues, the heads, to have distributed leadership, giving the autonomy for them to make decisions, to make the call, to discuss, then gave them that space to be able to be very nimble to the needs of the ground, the needs of the teachers. At the end of the day, the principal in the school, the headmaster of the school, will make that final call. But allowing our colleagues to have that space to input and influence, and giving that space for them to do that, allows us to really have a deeper input and deeper perspective of what is happening and how the situation could be best managed. The other point on distributed leadership is establishing expectations. So when we agree among the English, the math, and the science, and the mother tongue head of departments, we agree how much we want covered, what we expect of a synchronous lesson, what do we expect of the circuit breaker, what do we expect of teaching and learning, and then after that allowing them to discuss with their teachers and leading the teachers on what resources can be designed and developed, what assignments are very practical and are expected, then release the teachers from the stress that the principal is expecting to see bells and whistles, expecting to see spaceship and rockets. But at the same time, stating the expectation meant that we can't just let the days go by just like that. Yeah, our students still need to log on. Our students, whether it's logging on or working offline, our students still need to learn. There should be some meaningful learning experiences along the way. The second one is really very humbling for me personally, and I would put it as situational leadership. So another approach to leadership is, depending on the situation and depending on the needs, how do we lead? Some of us like to lead from the back, some of us from the side, some of us from the front, right? And very often in a crisis situation, I noticed that they look to the leadership, they look to the head to be giving that rallying call. This is where we go, and this is how we'll do it. I drop back to how should school heads monitor. One would be establishing clear expectations on the scope and sequence of curriculum. What do we expect learning to be when they are at home and at home for a week? How much do we think can be taught and how much it can be learned? We have to be very practical about what are some how things can be taught, and what's the scope and sequence of this entire month or these 2 weeks. What's the assessment type? Because having a test is possible, but we really need to think about how the students can possibly not cheat if we're having a test online, right? What's the load of assignments and how is it being carried out? Secondly is about accessibility. Having the children have access to devices. Another colleague also opines that, when you have 5 children in the house and everybody is doing blended learning, how on earth are you going to get it done when everything is synchronous? So the whole practicality of what blended learning is in a community has to be discussed about. Not everything is synchronous, not everything at 9 a.m. And then how then do we firstly get them a device, have them be accessible to the device if we are requiring them to go online, and secondly, how then do we manage the scope and sequence, and as well as the timing of this learning. The communication to parents and students is important. Sometimes in the doing, we just go, we just get things done. in our heads, we know everything of it. Between 5 heads, we all know what to do, but our parents might not know what's happening. Our students might not know, or maybe the teacher who is, quite at home and receiving the news, the last person to receive the news might not know anything if we don't communicate clearly. So the communication of such plans would also be important. Last will be the well-being of staff and students. One of the challenges of having online meetings right now, many of us are working from home. I think the articles have come out globally, is that many of us seem to be working non-stop. Meetings just go on non-stop. I think we only have time to rush the toilet, gobble down something, and so managing the staff and just attending to them. We might not be able to alleviate the situation, but perhaps attending to just reassuring them and encouraging them would be something that we could look out for. Educators have talked about preventing a lost generation, and it's very real. It's very real. Just looking through the school plans and the number of activities we have planned, but everything vaporized. Some of these activities have gone and they have gone. Yeah, when time is past, it's past. But I don't believe in the lost generation. I believe that where we have lost, we have made somber gains, but it's not tangible. This generation of children will remember this for many years to come. Everything will be very different, and this will not be the only crisis our children, this generation of youth, will face. Yet, what then can we do to allow them to continue to move on, to look at opportunities despite all these challenges? We do what we can and could continue to create opportunities of learning. So in the school, if I had to weigh it, firstly, safety first. If there are national measures on distancing, on mask wearing, on interaction, on intermingling, we will comply. I will not push the button. I will not be creative or innovative about it. I will just comply because safety first. And until it comes to a situation where, okay, we progress nationally or as the community to the next stage and the next stage, then we will move along. We can rely on the national curriculum, learning outcomes and syllabus. So what the ministry would have stipulated, what our children need to learn. The broad directions is the context in which we will operate from. So we know the end goal. By the end of this year, they technically need to have certain learning outcomes. Well, how far we reach it to whatever effectiveness, at least we know where we are going, so we need to be clear about that. What are the existing curriculum structures and assessment processes? For example, if we are coming up with a mid-year exam in 3 months' time, but it doesn't look like we can still go back to school, then we will just have to adjust, which we did. We adjusted our assessment weightage of examinations quite a bit, because that was the practical reason to do. There was no examination in the middle of the year, and many of us still have the mid-year exams for some of our levels. So what did we do? We moved the percentage to the end. We rebased our calculation on some of these percentages as well. So we still wanted an evaluation of their learning because they needed to move to the next curriculum level, the next learning level. We needed them to have a placement exam. Our 12-year-olds have a national placement exam, so they needed to revise still, whether it's online or offline. So these are things that we look at to adjust in how we want to